And we're back. So today's episode is a very, very special guest. We have Charlie Kristensen, better known as Cheer Up Charlie. Charlie is a multi-award winning anti-bullying campaigner, stage, screen and voiceover actor, and is a presenter of his own online chat show called Musical Chairs. Welcome to the Trouble Boys Club, Charlie. How are you today, bud?
I'm really, really good. I'm really, really happy to be here. Thank you guys so much for having me. How are you?
We're doing awesome, mate. How are you, Jay?
Yeah, all good. I'm even better now we've got Charlie on. I've been looking forward to this all week.
Bada boom! And we're off. We're at the races. So, Charlie, I suppose our first question would be, if you can tell our audience just a bit about yourself and sort of who you are, what you stand for, and just stuff like that. A rough overview.
Okay. Yeah, so as you heard, I'm Charlie Kristensen. Across the West End and my Instagram and just my social media and everything, I'm better known as hashtag Cheer Up Charlie now. I was really badly bullied throughout all of my time that I've been at school. And it basically came to a head when I was 9, and a big group of boys and girls chased me down and they attacked me in a bathroom and they tried to attack me with scissors, and it was a really big ordeal. And the day after, I went for a singing lesson with my singing teacher, and she's worked on the West End, Jacqueline Hughes. She's been Alphabet and Wicked. She basically said, let me put out a message just to see if any West End people will send me a message just to cheer me up. And from there, we got like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of messages from everywhere, from Broadway to the West End to random ones from Spain that were like, we tried to Google Translate them and it came out as like something about smoked salmon. We don't think Google Translate quite right there, but it was amazing to see all the joy, and people started asking like, who am I, and they wanted to see who I was, and so I made the decision that actually I can do something good out of this. I just posted me and her in her garden shed singing I'm Still Standing, really quite a bad rendition of it from me. And that blew up, and I ended up on loads of different talk shows and big chat shows on the TV and stuff like this. And then from there, it's grown and grown. And then last year I had my launch event for the Charlie Kristensen Foundation hashtag Cheer Up Charlie at the Lyric Theatre on Shaftesbury Avenue with a whole host of West End stars. And it's just been amazing. And I've been honoured with awards that don't even feel real. Like just a couple of weeks ago, I was at the House of Lords getting a British Citizen Youth Award, which is really just one of the craziest experiences of my life and something that I never thought I'd achieve.
Wow, and you've still not had your first beer. All that before that is ridiculous.
And I never will. I'm gluten free, and they all have gluten in them.
Oh really? Oh no, you'll have to start on like port or something like that. No, we're not encouraging you to drink. We're joking. But yeah, man, 9 years old, getting like attacked with like scissors and stuff, mate. It's absolutely awful. Did you ever find out like why? Like why were you such high on people's hit lists?
Because I had a thing that I loved doing that wasn't fighting and getting dirty and playing football. I loved to be on the stage and I loved to perform. And I knew that that was exactly where my life was heading. And unfortunately, there are people who don't quite have that same plan mapped out in their head from when they were 6. And sometimes that makes you a target. And when you sparkle a lot, other people tend to want to dull it down so that they can sparkle just as much. But everyone really can be as great as they want to be if they just want to be like that. But some people feel like the only way they can be great is by taking away other people's greatness.
Yeah, I was going to ask as well, Charlie. So I know you said when you was 9 years old and these people, chased you and obviously did all that horrible stuff. Was that in school or was that like just?
Yeah, it was on the playground at lunchtime. I actually went to a teacher at the beginning of it, and when it was only a couple of people trying to chase me around, and I basically said, I need help, these people are chasing me around, I'm scared. And this teacher, the PE teacher, he goes, oh mate, I'm not on break duty right now, you'll have to go find someone else, sorry.
No.
And he walked away. Which is really how it escalated, because I couldn't find any other members of staff. And then it was actually ended up being him that came and managed to get me out of the bathroom. And I think he expected some big, great, massive thanks from everyone after that. But it wasn't really how that one played out. But the head said everything was fine, as 3 of the boys lost their break time. So, everything was good in the world. And she did say about 9-year-old me that these were her exact words to my mum. And my mum is the most pacifist, non-violent person, and she had to leave the room because of this. She basically said to my mum, "Yeah, but we're very accepting of people like that at our school."
What, bullies?
Yeah, I was 9. I don't quite know anything like that at 9, but sure, yeah, that's fine.
That's just insane. Right. And did you say that's obviously where it all kind of started, or
Yeah.
your earliest memory of it? And would you say it's kind of carried on since, or since all the campaigning and stuff that you've done, and you've blown up? Have you found that more people have done it, or?
The couple of years afterwards, I kind of had a break from it. There wasn't too much. There was the occasional bit of playground stuff, but nothing too bad. But then when I went to secondary school, it was like being 9 again. Everything was the same, but the people were slightly more intelligent. So they could come up with slightly more intelligent things to do than just chase you around. I got into a whole scandal where I was accused of being the bully of the person who was actually bullying me, but the person who was bullying me was a small girl, and so the school's take on it was she couldn't possibly be bullying me because she's a girl and I'm a boy. And so that's why I ended up moving into year 8. I ended up moving to Sylvia Young Theatre School, which is full of people like me and people who've gone through the same things as me and people who love the same things as me. And from there, I've had absolutely no bullying whatsoever. It's been fantastic.
That's what we like to hear. I was going to actually ask, but you just touched on it briefly then. I remember myself, that transition from primary school to secondary school. It's crazy in terms of when you are in primary school, it's maybe 30 kids in your class or something.
Yeah.
And the majority of them, you are really good friends with and they're all really nice. But when you go to secondary school, there's I don't know, about 12 different schools, 30 different kids, and they've all come together into this new year. And you feel like it's that natural transition from when everyone's kind of becoming more aware of themselves, and you're no longer more of a kid in it anymore. And I feel like a lot of people go into high school to try and reinvent themselves and make this stamp. I always remember a story of something my dad told my older brother, which I don't speak to my dad anymore. I've not spoken to him for quite a few years because, put it this way, he's just not a very nice person. The advice he gave to my big brother, my older brother, who's 3 years older than me. So we started high school, and he said to my older brother, make sure when you start school, if anyone says anything to you, tries to bully you or, says anything out of turn towards you, it was go up to them and just say, meet me outside the school gates after school or whatever, which isn't good advice because you're trying to handle violence with violence and you teach a child to be violent, and that's probably where most of the bullies have stemmed from. But my brother was telling me about it the other day, and he said, so it was on my first day in school, someone said something, but I didn't really even hear them. I just kind of thought they were saying something to me. My brother said that he stood up and was meet me at the school gates. I'm thinking my brother was the guy was massive as well. He could have absolutely knocked me out in a flick. And then he was I can't believe I got that advice from my own dad. Do you know what I mean? And it's just crazy. And like you said, it's a different ballpark when you go to high school, isn't it? Like compared to primary.
Yeah, like what you said about it stemming from the parents. Like 9-year-old kids don't know the language of being able to call someone a nonce. They don't have that language in their vocabulary unless a parent has put it in there. And what you said about the going into secondary school and it's loads of schools merging. And my dad was in the military for a long, long time. The house we're in currently is the first house we've owned other than, I've lived in, apart from living in a military house. So we'd just moved into the area when I came to secondary school, and I joined the school a couple of months late because of health problems with my ears. Don't know whether you know this, but I'm deaf in my left ear. I lost my hearing in an accident, and I've had to have surgeries on it since. So I joined the school a couple of months late, which doesn't help when they've all come from like 5-6 local schools that they all knew each other from. Yeah. So they already had like formed friend groups. So that already doesn't help coming into a new environment late whilst everyone else has already had long previously formed friendships and you're like a newcomer who nobody knows.
Wow. Do you think that's why in some essence you've been able to sort of turn this into such a positive, because you've not lived in the same house for a vast amount of years? You were always that sort of like new kid, or you were never really settled anywhere. Do you think that's helped a lot with how you've been able to handle what you've been through?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. To me now, whenever a lot of people, when they move house, it's a sad thing and they cry. To me and my brother and my parents, it's like, it's a new adventure. We, like, I was born in Australia. I lived there for 5 years. And then we came over here and we lived in Newbury, and then we lived up in Leicester. And then we moved down to around like Reading, Berkshire area, and now we're where we live. So to me, and apart from where I am now, I've never stayed at the same school for more than generally a year and a half, because we generally just move to the next place. But to me, that's never saddened me. That's never anything, because if a friendship is as strong as it is when you're in person, it can stay as strong as it is when you move away. And if it's not, then it's not, and that's just the right time. But I think it definitely has helped in the ability to just let things go, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say then, when you was mentioning about that kind of going from school to school, what's your thoughts on homeschooling? Is it anything you've ever considered? Or
we did, before I went to Sylvia's in year 8, we were very much looking at moving to a homeschooling program. But I'm quite glad we didn't, because I absolutely adore where I was now. But if somewhere like Sylvia's wasn't an option for me because of, let's say, something like finance or location or anything like that, then I think homeschooling would definitely be a great option. I think if there were any young people listening who did homeschooling throughout COVID, they would immediately turn their nose up at it, because I had to go through the homeschooling of COVID, where no one was actually prepared for homeschooling. I would probably turn my nose up at it too and go back to the regular secondary school. But for an actual standpoint of people who need an escape from their regular school, they can't do it, and going to a specialist school like I'm at isn't an option, which it isn't for so many people, unfortunately. I think homeschooling would be a great option. Yeah.
It's a really good answer. But like you say, you're glad you didn't, because it's taught you a lot, hasn't it? Going to public school and sort of facing your fears kind of thing. But
yeah, I mean, everything happens for a reason. And
it certainly
that
does.
reason was that I could create this.
Yeah, absolutely. If you had been homeschooled, you might not be sat there wearing that hoodie. Everyone won't know your name and everything like that. Yeah. So you're absolutely right. Exactly. But I suppose that I wanted to ask you, you know, when you said you've had this mapped out since you was like 6 years old, you've always knew what you wanted to be, how your life was going to go, which is unreal, by the way, to have that like tunnel vision from such a young age. It's amazing. But can you remember like what was the first thing you seen on like telly or listened to where you was like, that's what I want to do? Like, what was it?
I mean, the first thing that ever got me into theatre was just as a side thing, because he tried basically everything. My brother did a stagecoach course for a few months because he tried basically everything that there was to try in the world. And I remember going and joining one of the junior classes one day, and I fell in love with it from there, and I continued doing it. And then my parents took me to watch the first ever musical I went to see on stage, which was The Lion King. I'd already been obsessed with it completely, and that I just completely fell in love with it. And that's when I got like, right, this is my dream. This is where I want to be. Obviously not in The Lion King. I'm not quite the suitable demographic to play Simba, but on the stage, I know that it's on the stage and on the screen and everything like that. I know that is where I belong. And it's the most amazing place in the world for me. Yeah.
Is it where you feel like most comfortable within yourself as like a human being?
Yeah, like getting up on stage or getting up on the TV and going and speaking or performing in front of a few thousand people would be, some people, even like my mum's absolute worst nightmare, they would despise it. But for me, never being able to do that would be my worst nightmare. It is like my happy place.
That's so nice to hear. I have a question, which is a slight bit of a segue, and also I'm hoping it might be a bit funny. It might not be. You mentioned you've got an older brother.
Yeah.
Did you by any chance bite his finger on YouTube like 10 years ago?
No, never. Okay. No, I didn't. No, that one wasn't me. Otherwise, that would be a whole other level of success.
I was going to say, yeah, because it popped into your head.
That was a good one.
When you said you had a brother, I was thinking, like, could it be?
Imagine if it was, and we didn't ask.
No, that's true.
No, I'd be a whole other level of success right there. Like,
imagine. Well, yeah. So, is your brother still doing similar stuff then? Didn't you say your brother did? Is it stage coaching?
Yeah. No. He tried it. It wasn't his thing. He's now at university, studying business and marketing.
Oh, nice.
So like completely opposite end of the stuff. And he plays American football on his university's American football team. So we are like completely polar opposites. But yeah. It works.
Yeah, I love the way you answered that as well. Like you was like, no, he tried. He's just not got it like I have. No, that's so good. Yeah, I was just going to say, just kind of going back a little bit before I got carried away. Do you know, like, I was going to say, like, in terms of like the bullying and stuff like that, because I know most people have probably experienced bullying at some point in their life, whether it's just for a tiny period or whether it's been for a long period. I know I experienced certain bits when I was in school with like certain people, like you said, picking on you because you was like slightly different or because you wanted to dress a certain way or just act a certain way. And like, I love the way you put it before about the sparkle, and people would want to put that sparkle out and possibly put it back onto them, which is just crazy. Myself and Ryan was like at school over 15 years ago now, because we're both like just turned 30. So I don't think social media was as much of a thing then.
It was Bebo, wasn't it?
I think
MySpace.
Facebook, we was more MSN. Facebook had just took off.
It was so old. Look at this guy here. We're so old.
Like but what I was kind of getting to slowly is trying to unpack it. Would you say there was a bit more, you ever experienced a bit more like online kind of hate and stuff like that, or was it more in person, people would make comments and stuff like that, or was it a bit of both? And yeah,
I mean, my stuff was the original stuff. I was a bit too young to be on social media at that time, and then when I got to the secondary school, I was already established on social media in terms of having a following and everything, so stuff was always filtered through my mum. But we still get loads of stuff, loads of hate comments. Mostly we find them quite funny now because generally they make at least one grammatical error in there, and it's like you're sending hate comments, but you actually can't spell correctly. So at least like check. The only bad one we ever had was when they sent us our address and said they were going to come and like shoot everyone's knees, and we were like, oh, okay, well we're gonna have to like talk to the police about that. That's not correct.
Did anything come off the back of that? Like, obviously you didn't get your knee shot. I mean, like, did the police or anything investigate it? Because
yeah, they investigated it. It was they never found out who it was, but
it's ridiculous.
I kind of, they never were able to, but I kind of knew, if that makes sense. But I'd never, because a dumb comment online isn't a reason to.
No, of course.
Like spiral someone's life and get them in trouble with the police. So, but you know,
it's so ridiculous.
I do think that what if someone was going through what I was going through and they didn't have the same support network around me and having messages filtered out, and they were just sat in their room alone thinking, are these messages true? Am I really worthless and pathetic and useless and all of these different words that you might get sent? And they didn't have anyone to help them with it. What could potentially happen to that child if they don't have the right support network? And I'm really, really lucky that I did.
Yeah. I've kind of got two questions. I just want to decide which one I want to ask. I'll go with this one, actually. So you mentioned, obviously, you've got a great support network, which you can clearly see and stuff like that. Like, how did you find it was kind of like speaking to your parents about, I know in primary school you probably didn't have a choice and stuff, but even still, some people probably still bottle it up, don't they? And they wouldn't tell their parents and stuff. Like, did you just find it dead easy to come home and, you know, just be like, this has happened? And
when I got to secondary school, I would tell them about every little thing that would happen, even whilst I was within school. I don't know how I never got in trouble for going on my phone in random points of the day, but I wasn't exactly doing anything malicious on there. I was more so just messaging my mum like I'm upset, this and that. But when I was in primary school and it was really bad, I did keep it bottled up. My parents knew that something wrong because, as the quote that my mum uses, I smiled, but I didn't smile with my eyes. I'd lost that essence of me, but I'd lost that essence of like me, and there was nothing they could do about it because I wouldn't talk about it, and I was getting very close to giving up on theatre, but also giving up on everything. And the worst quote I've ever had to hear mum say on anything was, if that big incident hadn't happened and I hadn't had the support network, she'd have been doing all the interviews in the Charlie Kristensen Memorial Foundation rather than me doing the interviews for the Charlie Kristensen Foundation. It's basically to sum it up.
Yeah, a parent's worst nightmare is what you can call that, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the worst thing was on the day where the big incident and they finally found out everything that was happening, was the same day that we got, just a couple of hours later, there was a news notification about a 12-year-old boy who gave his backpack to his friends and went and lay down on the train tracks because of the bullying, and he'd listed everything that had happened inside his train tracks, but he didn't feel like he had anyone to talk to. So he thought that was the only way out. Wow. And I know my parents said that was absolutely heart-wrenching after, obviously, what had just happened to me and everything they'd found out.
That is absolutely brutal. And I don't think people realise how damaging, like, words are. You know, like, forget physical being like punch and stuff. Like, yeah, it hurts for the minute and stuff, but you can sort of like bounce that off. But it's the verbal, it's the making you feel like you're so small and insignificant, and the people doing it are better than you, and they're going to go on to do better things. But have you ever heard of any of your foes? Should we say, like, after the fact?
One person from my secondary school did message me at one point, basically asked for forgiveness. I saw their message, but I didn't feel that I was in a good enough place for me to message them back. And so I kind of just left the message unread because of Instagram's things. You can read it, but not read it, if that makes sense. So I kind of just left the message unread, and I think it still lays in the bottom of my inbox at some point. So if I ever feel like I'd be ready to message them, but I'm also not the kind of thing that my forgiveness isn't just going to be one of the things you can tick off your bucket list to make yourself feel good, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's it. No, honestly, mate, what you said there is so true, because they only want you to forgive them to make themselves feel better. They're not sorry. They're not like, I'm sorry, Charlie, I was an idiot. Yeah. I'm so sorry. They just want to feel better within themselves.
Yeah.
But when you're seeing the message first, like your first initial thought, like, what was it?
And it was.
Do we need to beep? Do we need to get the beeper ready?
It was at first like, oh God, why is he messaging me? And then I read it. I was like, well, do I believe that? I don't think I believe that. Knowing from the person, I was like, I don't think I quite believe that one, but sure, okay. I'm not going to message back, but it was what it was, and yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, a lot of the time, and this, I don't want this to seem patronising at all, because it's not. This is just speaking from our wise age of years or whatever. I think a lot of the time, I think it's when you get a bit older, you'd probably more have that self-reflection of like, oh, I feel really bad. Do you know, like this person has? Yeah. But where they are quite young, like you said, I get the feeling from what we know about you and what you told us and stuff like that, it's most likely because they've seen that you have been blowing up online and you've been on TV.
Yeah.
And this and that, and they probably think, I feel like I should apologise, like rather than it being a genuine thing that they feel really bad about.
Good point.
I mean, it's like I've had people try to be my friend and then go, great, so now we're friends, you can put me on your Instagram, right? I'm like, well, no, that's not quite, I've spoken to you for like 5 minutes. That's not quite how.
Yeah, we're not friends.
Like, I've spoken to you for 5 minutes, and now you're saying we're best friends, and you want me to post you on my Instagram story, and then you're never going to speak to me again.
Oh,
it's like no, I'm not quite going to do that one. Thanks.
That's great.
If you're a really good, if you'll know you're my best friend if I put you on Instagram and you don't find out until you figured out I've tagged you at one point, and then you're just randomly up there.
That is absolutely bananas. Like, have you got a good sense of like, oh no, they're like users, like they're not being genuine? Have you got like a bit of a third eye for things like that now, because you're so exposed to this sort of like world, should we say?
I mean, you can definitely see from the moment meeting someone, most people can see if they're super artificial and fake, and like they're not really going to be there, if that makes sense, if they're really like that. But there have been the odd people that have slipped past, and for many years of being great friends with them, whether they're adults or children, and you find out that in reality they kind of just want to gain stuff from you rather than just being friends or being like an uncle or an auntie figure to you, you know?
Yeah, there's always like some sort of ulterior motive in the back of their head, yeah.
And then you can almost always know the people quite soon whether or not they're truly genuine. And I am glad to have found so many truly genuine people within my time of doing all of this, who are just amazing people who love and support everything I do.
Amazing. I watched one of your very first YouTube videos before.
Oh no!
We don't have to digress it by any stretch.
But we're going to get it up on screen and watch it now.
Oh, should we watch it and do like a reaction?
Oh, I already hate watching myself enough now, and having to listen to myself sing or watching back a self-tape when I do an audition, because they're all online and everything now. Whoopee! Everyone loves them. No one loves them. No one enjoys doing self-tapes. I've never met someone who enjoys doing self-tapes. But it's bad enough when I have to listen back to one of them. Never mind my old interviews that we did on a like laptop without a microphone, which is currently what I'm doing this interview on, because the good laptops we have in the house have some form of blockage on them that either the camera doesn't work or they don't allow it to record and we can't change the settings because it's a work laptop. So we are still doing it on basically what was the same laptop as I did all the interviews in COVID, but it's a reliable thing. Also weighs about 3 kilograms. My dad refuses to upgrade for whatever reason, but
your shoulders will thank you later on in life, don't worry. But you said something in the video, and it was a really, really good little quote that you said. Can you remember it? Your little tagline at the end.
Keep being kind to yourself and others and keep letting your light shine.
That one was mint as well, but this one, that's a good one. But the one I was going to say is be yourself because everyone else is taken.
Yeah.
Mate, it was like a mic drop. I was like, that boy knows what he's on about because it's so true. Everyone else is taken, man. It's amazing. Did you come up with that? Like, honestly?
No, definitely not. I will not take credit for that one. That's from some form of famous literist of some point throughout history. I just kind of use it whenever I feel because I think it's such an amazing quote.
Powerful, mate. It really is.
But no, I'm definitely not going to try and take credit for that one.
Well, should have.
But yeah, so I do like that quote because it is so true. There is only one you, and there's only space for one you on Earth. So
yeah, defo. I was actually going to ask. I wrote down a couple of questions just then when you was talking about that.
Mate, how do you read that?
I've got like doctor's writing, haven't I? Where only I.
Honestly, it looks like he's playing a game of Operation. It's doing nothing but beeping. Look, it's just illegible.
I was actually going to try and move it away slightly.
Okay.
From this topic.
Do it.
Yeah, I was going to ask more about like the West End and stuff like that. I know you said you got into it. So, first of all, like, what is your favourite West End kind of fit? Is it? Would you call it theatre? Like, yeah. What's your favourite?
I've kind of got 3 main ones that I really love. One of them I've seen 8 times. Wow. So that probably 8 or 9 times. That one probably has to go to the top of the list, and that's Come From Away.
Come From Away.
I'm not sure if you ever heard of that one. It's about the people on the planes that landed in Newfoundland during the events of 9/11, and it's about their stories. But it's like the most wholesome and heartwarming and fun and funny musical I think I've ever watched, and it embodies kindness so much. The next one is quite a basic one, but I am a big fan of Hamilton. I love Hamilton, and I love a lot of
Shakespeare.
And then one I haven't seen, but I've been listening to the soundtrack like non-stop on repeat is I'm desperate to go see it. I need to see it soon in the West End. Is Operation Mincemeat, which is about the war effort where they sent the German troops to Sardinia thinking they were going to invade there, but in reality they were invading Sicily. Again, that's meant to be like one of the funniest musicals, and the music from it is so good.
Operation Mincemeat, like,
yeah.
What?
Whichever military general decided to come up with it is quite interesting. I'd like to meet them.
Yeah, I weren't expecting answers like that, to be fair. I don't know what I was expecting, but I just know from like what my kids have watched and stuff in theatre, and they've only ever really watched like Frozen and like Shrek and stuff like that, so I don't know. And when you said Lion King, I don't know, but are you interested in, I think, is it Wicked that's on at the moment with Ariana Grande?
Yeah.
Have you been to watch that, or would you want to watch that?
I'm definitely going to watch that because I adore Wicked the musical, and it's a phenomenal musical with one of the most, if not the most iconic theatre song ever in it, in Defying Gravity. And so I'm definitely going to go watch the movie because I love Wicked. Yeah.
No,
actually, you won't be able to see, but before this, I was wearing Wicked pajamas and a Wicked dressing gown.
No way.
That I got from M&S, and I am actually doing the Zoom businessman call where I've got the hoodie on top and I've got Wicked pajamas on the bottom.
No way.
See?
That is
it's
class.
like a new, mate. It's like a new.
So good.
No, so I think we're going to go and try and watch it. Is it out yet, or is it around Christmas time?
No, it comes out November 27th, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Oh,
End of November.
yeah.
I know it's sometime around there. But yeah, it'll be really good. Shame they've had to split it into 2 parts, but if they need to do that to tell the story, then to do that to tell the story.
Yeah, definitely. And do you have a favourite? Again, I apologise for not knowing all the terminology, but would it be like an actor / actress, or is it a performer when it's in theatre? Like,
they can be called really anything, but that's a really hard one.
Daniel Johnson.
I'm a massive fan of both Idina Menzel and Lin-Manuel Miranda, but I'm more of a fan of Lin for his written work, but his performances are amazing. But also, he is like one of our best friends, so this is a bit biased, but I think one of the best voices currently on the West End is a guy named Nathaniel Morrison. If you Google some of the videos of him singing, his range and his belts are like phenomenal. He can hit like notes that you don't even know exist. Pulls them out of thin air and then he belts them. He's quite mad. He's amazing.
Yep, shout out Nathaniel.
Yeah, Nate. he's my brother from another mother. He took me around the doing one of the, when they go stage door and they sign everything and that. He did that with me one time and he took me down the stage door route and signing things and selfies, and he introduces me as his brother to this group of teenage girls. Aww. And they go, "Oh, I see the resemblance." Me and Nate are by far not the same race. Like we are as far apart as we could possibly be. Hence why he's my brother from another mother. But we love Nate. He is like the funniest person, and he's amazing.
I did think that, to be fair, when you said Nathaniel, I kind of got a vibe. Yeah, so I suppose I've just got a couple of questions.
Is this just like a what's your favourite round?
No, this isn't what's your favourite round.
What's your favourite pasta?
I only have 2 about theatre, because it's not about theatre. I just didn't want to make it all about one kind of thing. I would like to ask, what is next, and what do you see kind of in the next, 5 years? Like, where do you want to go kind of from here? Do you want to be, like, just, carrying on being on stage? And is there anyone that you'd like to collab with and all stuff like that?
I mean, I would love to obviously continue being on stage, but also do like screen work in terms of movies and TV and stuff like that. I've already done some Netflix voiceover stuff, but some
nice.
And stuff would be for things that aren't like shows intended for children, that the songs get stuck in your head and they never leave. I could still recite them, and I did them like 2 years ago. Think like your typical Cocomelon kind of young children's songs that enter your head and they never leave. Having to sing them over and over again in this tiny recording booth that's like got no aircon in it and you're boiling hot will drive you insane at some point. But I'm not complaining, because they are really good fun to do. Netflix, if you want me to do any more, I am here. If Netflix is watching, I am here to do some more. They never renewed the series for like a 3rd series, so it's quite sad. And then for the charity wise, I'd love to take it so that we'd be able to do like a West End day where we'd be able to have all of like the best of the West End people doing workshops for children from areas that they wouldn't be able to come out and experience the arts, to try and get rid of some of the negative stigma around it, because it would allow them to kind of realize that the arts isn't something just for girls, and there shouldn't be all this negativity, because it is cool to do, and it is fun to do, and it is awesome. Like, I guarantee you, some of the people that bullied me, when they bullied me, if you took them to see something like The Lion King or just any amazing stage show, really, they'd probably feel like right idiots, because they'd realize this is actually really awesome. So to be able to do that, and also to be able to help people in terms of getting themselves to auditions and getting through theatre schools and theatre colleges and everything to prepare them for the arts. That would be amazing for charities, and keeping doing what I'm doing, where I go around and give assemblies at schools, because the schools that I have done assemblies at have said that they have seen a much higher increase in students just being nice to each other since I came in and did an assembly than before, which I think is amazing.
That is amazing. I genuinely can't believe like how much stuff you've actually done. Like amazing stuff. Like I know that you will be and stuff, and I know that your parents will be, but like you should just be like so proud of yourself, man. Like you've done so much amazing stuff. Like we feel proud of you speaking to you. We've only got you for like
so much pride.
But I suppose I was going to say, so a little message, like if there is anyone listening to this who, I guess we don't have 9-year-olds and 12-year-olds listening to this, but maybe
we might do. We're for the family.
It doesn't matter about age, but maybe if there's someone listening to this who might know someone going through this, or maybe if you are going through something quite similar, you could be in a work environment and it's quite toxic and stuff like that. It doesn't always have to be kids going through stuff like that. What advice would you give, having done loads of talks and everything?
The first thing I always say is it will get better. You will eventually find what I call your tribe, the place where you belong. And I think that's the most important thing to remember, because it may seem so far off, which it did for me, until you found someone that could understand you and could get you. But eventually you will get there. And the most important thing you can do in terms of your own mental health is, I would never tell someone to just ignore them. And I do this at schools. I make teachers put up their hands as to who have said or ever said anything along the lines to a student of something like, just ignore them. Because I say those are extremely damaging words, because everyone I've ever spoken to doing a thing has always said the cuts and the bruises and the broken bones, they all heal, but the words are the things you remember when you're like falling asleep, and even in 10 years time and you hear those words going through your head, they never leave you. They're ingrained in your brain forever, so you can't just ignore them. But what you do have to do is you have to talk about them, because keeping all your problems bottled up is never the way, whether it be someone in your life that you love and trust, or even someone that you don't know, whether it be of some form of helpline, or even, I always say this wherever I go, if anyone is ever struggling, then my Instagram and Twitter and Facebook stuff and that are always open there, that you can go over and message if you're ever having troubles, because just getting it out is so important, because it is so much easier to go through it when it's not all just shoved inside of you and shoved right down. When it's out there in the open, not saying it can't hurt you, but it can't hurt you as much.
Definitely, that's beautifully said, as you've done all the way through this. I was going to say, what would you, if there is any like teachers listening and stuff, what would you kind of advise a teacher to say in that situation, instead of like just ignore them?
I mean, there is no right or wrong as to what you can truly say, if that makes sense. It all depends on the situation. But the teachers I always remember was, actually, she wasn't even a teacher. When I was in year 4, when I was 9, it was actually our school receptionist. And I would use, because it got to the point for me where I would sit down at our lunch table and everyone would move away because of everything. So I used to go sometimes and I would sit and eat my lunch in her office, and she'd also be one to help me with my hearing aid and all of my hearing stuff and everything at school, because I wasn't able to actually put it in myself yet. So if I ever needed it put in or taking out, she'd be the one to do it for me. But I'd go and I'd sit and I'd have my lunch in there, and she would just make general conversation about anything, but it was a way to distract and forget about what would be happening out on the playground. And I think that is more important than anything else you can really possibly say for a child, is just giving them a distraction, even if it's only temporary.
Yeah.
What an answer. Well, honestly, like, that is ridiculously smart and intelligent answer. And that teacher of yours, mate, like, wow, that is a teacher, if you know what I mean. Like, well done.
Yeah.
Was it well done, whoever that was? If you're listening, you are a credit to the teaching society, or whatever you want to call it.
Not the PE teacher, though.
Or PE teacher can beep. I've got time for one more question.
Yeah, do it, man.
Okay. Serious now, Charlie.
Okay.
Of all the musical actors, performers that you are aware of, if they made a musical about your life, who would you want to play you?
This is the most serious of the questions.
Told you, we're getting really serious now.
I've never been asked this question.
I've always resemblance.
Obviously, yeah. Nathaniel can't because he looks too much like you. So Nathaniel, you're out.
I've already had people in kind of private ask me that kind of thing, and I always try and dodge it because it's like most awkward question, but I can't dodge it here. You know, I think you gotta go with Ryan Reynolds, you know.
That's a good one.
That's a good answer.
I think the only person who could do it justice, you know.
100%.
I like that answer a lot. Well done for answering.
Either that, or if you want a child, my good friend who I see whenever he manages to get over from the States, Ian Armitage. People always compare me to him.
Young Sheldon.
Yeah, true. See,
yeah,
he's got brown hair though, only dark brown hair.
Oh my god, yeah.
People do always compare me to him. So if all else, then definitely him. Yeah,
that's the one. He's just got to dye his hair blonde. That could be the name of the episode, Young Sheldon.
Yeah, Young Sheldon.
Cheer up, Young Sheldon. Oh man.
Oh, this has been quality.
No, it has.
This has been great.
I've learned so much, and I'm definitely going to check out that West End show that you told us about, because the one that you've seen 8 times.
Yeah, that is amazing. Brilliant show.
Well, thank you very much, Charlie.
Yeah, thanks so much, mate.
Loved speaking to you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and you tell your mate as well, he was meant to join.
It was great seeing him.
It would have been nice to meet him too, but yeah. Well, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and
thank you very much.
We'll be putting this out next week, and thank you so much for coming on, and best luck with everything else, and I'm sure we'll catch up again at some point in the future.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Charlie.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Peace.
Bye.
See you, mate.